How to hack any U.S. visa category interview. 1. Arrive an hour early for the interview. 2. Carry all the required and extra documents. 3. Make sure what you say during your interview matches your paperwork. 4. Dress properly for the interview. 5. Confidence is the key for visa. Interview success. All the best for your visa interview.
Are you planning to apply for a B1/B2 visa to visit the United States for business or tourism? Having a well-organized checklist can simplify the application process and increase your chances of approval. 1. Valid passport. Ensure your passport is valid for at least 6 months beyond your intended stay in the U.S. 2. Visa application form, DS-160. Complete the DS-160 form online and print the confirmation page with the barcode. You'll need this for your interview. 3. Visa application fee receipt. Pay the non-refundable visa application fee and keep the receipt as proof of payment. 4. Visa appointment confirmation. Schedule an appointment for an interview at the U.S. Embassy or consulate and bring the appointment confirmation with you. 5. Passport photos. Get 2 recent passport-sized photos that meet the U.S. visa photo requirements. 6. Visa invitation letter, if applicable. If you have an invitation from a U.S. host, include this letter with details of your trip. 7. Travel itinerary. Provide a detailed itinerary, including flight reservations, hotel bookings, and plans for your trip. 8. Proof of ties to home country. Demonstrate your intent to return to your home country. Include documents such as employment letters, property deeds, or family connections. 9. Financial documents. Show that you can cover the costs of your trip. Bank statements, pay stubs, or a letter from a sponsor can be helpful. 10. Employment verification, if applicable. If you're traveling for business, provide a letter from your employer explaining the purpose of your trip. 11. Visa for spouse and children, if applicable. If your family is traveling with you, ensure they have their own B1/B2 visas. 12. Travel insurance, recommended. While not mandatory, having travel insurance can be a good idea to cover unexpected events during your trip. 13. Other supporting documents. Include any additional documents specific to your travel purpose. For business, this might include conference invitations or meeting schedules. For tourism, include a list of tourist attractions you plan to visit. Following this checklist can help streamline your application process and increase your chances of obtaining a B1/B2 visa for your U.S. travel plans. Safe travels. Safe.
I'm an ex-visa officer and you want to know why did the visa officer not look at my documents when I went to my visa interview? Well, this is very common. So many visa applicants come to me and they tell me that they went to their visa interview. They were super prepared. They had all their documents ready. They spent weeks gathering all these materials. They had a packet of hundreds of papers and documents and certifications and licenses, and they went to their visa interview and the visa officer didn't look at a single document. Well, this is why the visa officers are under a lot of pressure to go fast. They have to make these decisions very quickly, usually within just a few minutes. They need to take what you're telling them and then make a decision. Do they trust what you're saying or do they think that you're telling a lie? Once they hear what you're saying, they're going to make that decision as fast as possible. If they're confident that they have enough information, only after hearing what you've said, if they still have a few doubts, but they think maybe things are okay, I need a little more information, then they're going to ask you for some documents. They're going to want to.
The most common mistakes that you should avoid during your visa interview. These tips are coming straight from a consulate officer who kindly shared the details with me so that I can share them with my clients. First off, the top mistake that you should avoid is not filling out the DS-160 yourself or not reviewing the application before you have someone else submit it on your behalf. The DS-160 is the most important document in a visa application because it gives a snapshot of you and your situation to the officer before you get to the interview. It is really important to ensure that all the details in the application are accurate and that you've provided as much detail as possible about your ties to your home country and the purpose of your trip. Another thing to keep a note of is that the DS-160 application will become a part of your immigration history in the US. So for example, let's say you appear for a visitor's visa, then an H-1, and eventually apply for a green card in the future. The officer that is adjudicating your file will review all DS-160s that you have ever filed. Unfortunately, lying on your DS-160 application is considered to be immigration fraud, and it could bar you from any future immigration benefit in the US. So please be careful that you submit only true and accurate information on the DS-160. Another mistake that most applicants make is that when you get to the interview, do not approach the officer and shove your documents through the window. I know a lot of you may be anxious and think that if you have everything on paper, then there is no reason for your application to be denied. However, supporting documents only account for a small percentage in the decision-making process. The officer has already reviewed your DS-160, and now they're looking to see how you will engage with them during this interview. They're looking to see how you're advocating for yourself in this interview. And of course, there may be some important documents that the officer will need, but they will ask for them. Most applicants already have spent a lot of time preparing their documents, so at the interview, the main focus should be conveying your situation to the officer in a way that makes the most sense to them. The best thing you can do is prepare for this as if you were preparing for a job interview. So, avoid things like giving one-word answers or not knowing basic details that are in your application. You only have a few minutes with the officer, and so you really want to make sure that you use each minute to best present your case to them. These are just a few tips to keep in mind for your visa interview.
7 mistakes not to make in your US visa interview.
Number 1. Appearing nervous and dishonest.
Don't appear nervous and sweaty. Take a deep breath. Be genuine.
Number 2. Giving long, unrelated answers.
Avoid giving long, unrelated answers. Stick to the point.
Number 3. Offering extra documents without asking.
Don't offer extra documents unless asked. It can look suspicious.
Number 4. Implying intent to work or overstay.
Never imply you plan to work or overstay. This visa is for tourism or study.
Number 5. Interrupting the interviewer.
Don't interrupt or ask about visa chances. Wait your turn.
Number 6. Dressing inappropriately.
Dress appropriately. It's an official appointment, not a day at the beach.
Number 7. Aggressively arguing with the officer.
Keep it cool, never argue with the consular officer. Dress well, stay focused, be polite, remember. First impression matters.
When it comes to visitor visas, there's 3 main areas to consider. Number 1, your purpose of visit. Number 2, financials. And number 3, ties to home. You'll need written letters and supporting documents that address each area. The goal is to convince the visa officer that you're a genuine visitor who has an established life back home. Any commitments or reasons to return home should be clearly mentioned. If it's a job, get an employment letter and include wording that shows that your job will remain secure while you're away. If it's family, get support letters and family photos. That's how you should think about it. I help a lot of people with their visitor visa applications, especially those who've been refused before. If you need help, click the link in my profile.
Preparing for your U.S. visitor visa interview, I've got you covered with the 30 essential questions you might face. Let us dive right in. What is the purpose of your visit to the U.S.? Have you been to the U.S. before? And if so, when can you share your travel itinerary for this trip? Do you have family or friends in the U.S.? And where do they live? How will you finance your trip and living expenses? Can you provide financial documents like bank statements or sponsorship letters? Where do you work? And for how long? What is your monthly income? And can you show proof? Are you married or single? Do you have children? Have you traveled to other countries before? And if so, where? 11. Have you ever faced visa denials or issues? What is the duration of your intended U.S. stay? Have you purchased round-trip flight tickets? Have you ever violated U.S. visa terms or overstayed? Do you have close relatives living in the U.S.? Why did you choose this specific time for your visit? Are you currently a student? And what is your course and institution? Do you have travel or medical insurance for your trip? Have you secured travel or medical insurance? Is there anything else you'd like to add or clarify? How do you plan to ensure your return to your home country after your visit? Can you demonstrate strong ties to your home country, like family or employment? Do you have health insurance covering your U.S. stay? What is your educational background and can you provide certificates? Are you traveling with family or dependents? Any medical conditions or prescription medications? Do you have an invitation letter from a U.S. host or organization? What is the main reason for your visa application? Now, how will you ensure your return to your home country? Can you share a detailed itinerary of your U.S. travel plans?
If you have a family member in the U.S., that 100% is going to affect your chances to get your visa issued. It's because the visa officers think that however one family member behaves, the other family members will behave similarly. So if your family member in the U.S. is on an H-1B visa, studied there, has stayed in lawful status, this is going to reflect well on you. But if you've got a family member that, however lawfully, arrived in the U.S. in a non-immigrant status, and then converted to an immigrant status or went out of status, they're going to suspect that you will do the same thing. So before going to your interview, you have to identify how they will see your case and how you should respond to it. Visa officers often make judgments based on patterns they observe within families, so it's crucial to address this aspect proactively. For instance, if your family member in the U.S. has consistently abided by the terms of their visa, followed the immigration laws, and maintained a positive record, it reflects well on your application. It demonstrates that your family respects and complies with U.S. immigration regulations, which can be a strong indicator of your intent to do the same. On the other hand, if you have a family member who has had issues with their immigration status, it's essential to address this during your interview. You should provide clear evidence and explanations that show your commitment to following the law and staying in lawful status throughout your intended stay in the U.S. By demonstrating your intention to be a responsible and law-abiding immigrant, you can significantly increase your chances of getting your visa issued. Understanding how your family's immigration history may affect your case and being prepared to address it during the interview is a crucial step in the visa application process. That's how you get your visa issued. This is my absolute #1 top tip for someone who's been refused previously. When you go into your visa interview, the new visa officer is going to see that you were refused, and they're going to think negatively about you from the very beginning. What you have to do in the first 10 seconds when they give you the opportunity to speak whatever they ask you, you have to put the top highlights from your resume and application in front of them to turn that from a negative thought into a positive thought. That's the only chance you have to get your visa issued.
If you're gearing up for a U.S. student visa interview, here are essential tips to make it a success. Clearly outline your study plans, emphasize your well-thought school selection, substantiate your financial capacity, and underscore your strong ties to your home country. Don't forget to showcase your English proficiency and specific career goals, exuding confidence while maintaining humility throughout the interview. Practice with a friend or family member to articulate your thoughts effectively, prepare for common questions, and, above all, stay calm and composed. With these guidelines, you're well prepared to navigate your U.S. student visa interview with confidence and poise, setting the stage for a successful academic journey. Best of luck on your path to studying in the U.S.
How important is your visa sponsor? If you're applying for a visa where you need a sponsor, the name of that sponsor and their relationship to you is not as important as presenting your entire financial means and how you will be paying for your program. If your parents are paying, that's the most natural way to pay for your finances. If you're of a traditional student age, you put your parents' names, your father or your mother, it doesn't matter which. But then in the interview when they ask you about how you're paying for it, don't just say my father or my mother are going to pay for this. Say what their financial means are. What's their profession? What are their assets, right? Do they have real estate? What's their income? Describe it in the most elaborate terms possible that's going to make that visa officer know that you have the means to pay for your education in the U.S. It's crucial to demonstrate your own commitment to your education and your intent to return to your home country after completing your program in the United States. This can be achieved by highlighting your academic achievements, your career goals, and how this international education will contribute to your future prospects. Additionally, you can emphasize any ties you have to your home country, such as family, job opportunities, or community involvement, which will reassure the visa officer of your intention to return home after your educational journey. By providing a well-rounded picture of your financial stability, your academic ambitions, and your strong connections to your home country, you'll significantly enhance your chances of securing the visa you need to pursue your educational dreams in the United States, and that's how you're going to get your visa issued.
The U.S. visa interview is not easy. Top 15 U.S. tourist visa interview questions with sample answer B1, B2 visa, Part 2, Question 7, visa. Officer, have you ever been denied a U.S. visa or faced any immigration issues in the past? Best answer 7. Applicant, if no, no, I have never been denied a U.S. visa, and I have not encountered any immigration issues. Question 8. Visa officer, are you married? If yes, does your spouse have a visa? Best answer, 8. Applicant: my spouse is a legal permanent resident in the USA. Follow-up questions from 8. Visa officer: do you currently have any pending petitions, particularly any filed by your spouse on your behalf? Did your spouse file for you? Best answer. Applicant: yes, indeed. I have an approved petition, and my case is presently with the National Visa Center, NVC, awaiting the scheduling of an interview date. Visa officer: how can you demonstrate your intention to return to your home country if your visa application is approved? Best answer. Applicant: 1. Employment. I am committed to my job, and I have professional responsibilities that require my presence in my home country. 2. Property ownership. I own property in my home country, which underscores my ties and investment there. 3. Immigration interview. Additionally, I have an upcoming immigrant interview scheduled in my home country, reinforcing my intent to maintain ties and obligations there. NB. This guidance applies exclusively to individuals with approved I-130 F2A petitions. Based on personal experience, it is advisable to consider applying for a B1, B2 visitor visa only when their case is awaiting an interview at the National Visa Center. Question 9. Visa officer: can you provide your travel history for the past 5 years, including countries visited and the purpose of your visits? Best answer, 9. Applicant: certainly. In the past 5 years, I have visited list of countries for tourism and family visits. Question 10. Visa officer: do you have any medical conditions that would require treatment or accommodations during your trip to the U.S.? Best answer, 10. Applicant: no, I am in good health and do not require any special medical accommodations. Question 11. Visa officer: are you married? And if yes, does your spouse hold a visitor visa? Best answer, 11. Applicant: my spouse possesses a U.S. visitor visa and has previously traveled to the USA on multiple occasions.